Hello, this is our last video together in the Macmillan text, and it's also going to be a short one. It's on action research. This one's going to be a bit different. I hope that if you are going into a K-12 teaching position, or maybe you're already in one, that you read this section very carefully because typically, given your normal teaching duties, especially with all the accountability measures now and paperwork, IEPs, everything, you don't have a lot of time, and it would be very difficult to conduct a rigorous research project unless you're perhaps collaborating with some university faculty or something. So this is something that you can do, and not only can you do it, but it is wonderful for helping you to improve your own teaching. This is something that I also do in my teaching, and it's something that not only is it useful to others when you're sharing the results, but one of the main reasons you do it is for yourself, and we'll get into that here in just a second. So action research is done on the spot. It's quick. It's, I was going to say dirty. I'm not sure that it's dirty. It's easy to do. It doesn't require much finances, and it's relevant. This is important. It's relevant to whatever your needs are. So if you're struggling with discipline issues in your classroom, you can conduct an action research project in your own classroom. Figure out what some of the patterns are with the discipline behaviors. Are there reasons contributing to the discipline issues that you could control potentially? You can find a lot of these things out in your own teaching too. So maybe you have two sections of a certain prep, of a certain course, and you teach it in two different ways, and you find out, oh, this flipped classroom really works well with the type of students that I teach at this school. Or the exit slip strategy, where I ask a single question at the end of class, seems to work really well, but this other strategy doesn't seem to work very well. So again, you're kind of experimenting. The rules are flexed a bit, and you have the freedom to explore any issue that's relevant to your teaching. Okay, so a lot of what happens in action research is your personal reflection on the teaching, or maybe you're conducting it with a couple other teachers. This is great because then you can have meetings where you discuss what's going on, and no matter what your findings are, I can almost guarantee they'll make you more informed about your teaching. And I keep saying teaching. I shouldn't do that because some of you will be in fields, maybe education fields, other than teaching. Really, this applies to any kind of field. You're doing some kind of practitioner research on the spot. And there are journals for this, although I'll get to that in just a second. There's some cautions there. So one of the main disadvantages is that this tends not to hold as much weight as a rigorous research, quantitative or qualitative project, because you don't usually have the random sampling. If you do have the random assignment, probably the findings are somewhat limited to your classroom or your school. But that's okay. There is still, like I said, that personal growth, and there's also growth that you can share with the profession. So typically there's practitioner journals and there's research journals. When you do action research, it's almost always going to fall under that practitioner journal category. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Practitioner journals tend to be much more well-read. Their audience is much broader. You can reach a lot of people, and often it's easier to get published in a practitioner journal. So since you don't have all that extra time to clean it up, the article into very tight, detailed wording, as you've noticed as I point out my comments on your lit review, Um, you still need to write well, but the standards are a little bit more flexible, I want to say. So you'll select a focus or topic, determine how you want to design and collect data, similar to how you're doing in this class, because we're going all the way up through, but not including the data collection in this class. And then this third point, IRB approval. So IRB, the Institutional Review Board, regulates any research done with human subjects. Now, the reason I say consider whether you need it, you really only need to go through IRB when you're doing research. And what research means is you're conducting some study where you hope to produce generalizable knowledge. So if I'm just looking at my classroom, I'm just trying to figure out for my own benefit what strategies reduce discipline issues or what strategies increase student retention. And I have no desire to publish in a practitioner journal or present at a formal conference, then probably I don't need to go through some institutional review board. I can just kind of do this on the spot. That said, no matter when you're collecting data, you should always be responsible for how you're treating the participants, how you're handling confidentiality, anything like that. You should always be careful, but you may not need to go through an IRB. If you do want to publish or present at conferences, you must go through an IRB. If your school doesn't have one, maybe talk to your administration, because they may have one. It's just rusty or it's not often used, and a lot of times they'll be happy that you're conducting research. It shows you're trying to develop yourself professionally. If they don't, maybe contact a local university or a nearby higher ed institution, which should all have IRBs, and ask them if maybe you can go through their IRB process. The benefit of this, you get the legal protection of that school or institution. If you do some kind of research project on your own and some issue arises, there could be legal ramifications that you really don't want to deal with. So this is one of the reasons why it's essential that you go through an IRB if you're planning to disseminate your results. Okay, so selecting the topic again is really wide open, just whatever is most relevant to you. Validity, so here's where even in action research, there's certain things you want to make sure of, otherwise the findings they don't even hold the internal validity within your classroom. So you do want to make sure that all the voices were represented, whether it's through random sampling or whether it's through extreme case sampling, making sure that you're looking at the issue from all perspectives. And then I want to hit on this dialogic, how the findings affect you. So in action research, many times you won't even publish it, and many times you won't even present it. So the question is, why did you even conduct it? Well, bettering your own teaching, bettering your own practice, whatever your field is an important part, and that can either be through self-reflection or talking with your colleagues. So a lot of times colleagues will be pretty interested because they're in the same situation that you are. When you're reading action research reports, two things that I really want to point out, that's why I'm holding up 3 fingers. One, you want to think about the motivation of the researcher. Is this researcher really angry at something, and so they only want to conduct this research study to prove their point? If so, take it with a grain of salt. And along with that, is there any presence of external monitoring? Did the teacher just go in, completely share their opinions, not even tie into the research literature? Everything was very subjective. Even in qualitative research, if you have some subjective findings, you want some kind of control system or credibility checks. So in action research, before you put too much weight in an action research finding, you want to answer these two questions. Make sure that the motivation wasn't driving a biased result, and make sure that there was some kind of credibility checks to ensure that this finding was a valid finding. And again, you still would want to put more weight in research studies that were conducted rigorously at every level and that were peer reviewed. But there's certainly a place for action research in your personal practice and in the wider practice of whatever your field is.